You ready? One, two, three, four!
Hello everybody, and welcome to my first ever MLB predictions video that I'm going to make for my YouTube channel. My name is Mike Ruggiero, also known as the Club of the Man 1993. And not only am I making my full team predictions, but I'm also going to talk about a little more about the Pirates though, because they're my team. I'm from Pittsburgh. Been a huge Pirates fan for over 10 years now. And yeah, I mean, I don't have as high expectations as I do for some other teams, but I'll still talk about, how I still have hope for the Pirates and what I think is going to work for them, and what is not going to work for them. So we'll get to that a little bit later. So let's start off by going to the American League East. Now, the American League East, and again, sorry about the lighting, doing the best I can here. But for the American League East, here's my predictions I have for the American League East. It's going to be another, close race between these four teams, but I think it's not going to be, a dangerous-looking division. So, the Blue Jays are going to place first, in my opinion, to go 90-72. Their pitching's gotten better. They have all the bats you can ask for. The Red Sox will be second. I mean, they got David Price. They had another, lower type of year last year. So, I'm hoping that I think they're going to get better because their young players have gotten better, and I think they'll be ready this year to compete for a playoff spot. The Yankees, despite their big acquisition of Aroldis Chapman and that big back end into the bullpen, I don't see the Yankees really getting anywhere over third place. I mean, you think about it, the most of that team is old anyway, so I had them still placing at third. So some of these guys still have gas in the tank, but I don't think it's going to be good enough compared to the Blue Jays and the Red Sox. Fourth place is the Orioles. Now, a lot of people always talk about how the Orioles have all these power names in their lineup, which, I mean, yeah, Pedro Alvarez, Mark Trumbo, Chris Davis. That's a lot of power hitters in there. But, their pitching is okay, not great. But, the problem with all these power hitters is most of them strike out a lot. And I don't see really anybody besides, Adam Jones hitting for a high average in that lineup. So, as far as I'm concerned, I still think they're going to be a fourth-place team in a tough division like this. And then the Rays, the Rays are going to place last. I mean, they're not a terrible team, but, in a division like this, someone's got to be at the bottom. And I think the Rays, with how tough this is, I see the Rays only being like a 75-win team. So, a little bit of, not the worst last-place finish you can ask for, but, it's still not going to be an easy season for the Rays, I feel. Moving on now to the American League Central, we have the Royals repeating as first-place winners, probably at, I see the Royals, though, having the second-best American League record, which I'll explain, though, and when we move on to the next division. So I think the Royals, of course, are going to go to the playoffs again, being division champs. Can't see really anybody else being better than the Royals in this division. The Indians, I think, with their young players, they've gotten better, and I think their pitching is getting better. And, Terry Francona has gotten the experience. And I think the Indians are going to be not really a playoff team, but a threat in the playoffs, for the playoffs this year. Maybe like a mid-80s winning team, like 85 wins. The Twins probably being neck to neck with the Indians, right behind them. I feel the same way about the Twins. They have a young team. They got off to a pretty decent start last year. Not a little bit of a rough second half, but they have all these young players on there. They're getting better as well. Byron Buxton, and Miguel Sano and Brian Dozier. I see this team though probably being neck to neck with. It's pretty much the same situation as the Indians. And then fourth place, you have the Tigers. Tigers got to a good start last year. They fell off, though, during the year. I think some of that was injuries, but you realize I think also their pitching staff really is not all quite there yet. So, despite Miguel Cabrera not being injury plagued, I still think the Tigers are still going to have not be too high up there also in the division as well. And then the White Sox. The White Sox, there's a team, they have bits and pieces and stuff. They just lost Adam LaRoche recently to retirement because of issues with the management not allowing his son to stay in the clubhouse. And, they have Chris Sale, Jose Abreu still, they got Todd Frazier the offseason, but that's not going to be enough to get the White Sox out of the basement, in my opinion. And The American League West, though, this is going to be a very interesting race for me, in my opinion. The Houston Astros, I see winning this division because the Astros, they have a lot of their young talent coming up last year. They put up a pretty good series with the Royals when they got to the divisional series. Came up a little short, but I see them getting better. Their young guys are going to be a lot better. I think this team is going to be like the Cubs last year, have probably the best record in the American League, in my opinion. And I think they're going to be a huge threat this season. You have George Springer, who is a little bit injury plagued, Carlos Correa, Preston Tucker. I'm not sure will be in the starting line, but they have their mix of veterans as well who have the experience and have the talent as well. So I pick the Astros to win this division, probably going 96 wins, in my opinion. 96, 97 wins for the Astros this year. The Rangers right behind them. The Rangers, of course, have been a decent team the past few years, except for 2014, they had a lot of injuries. But, with Darvish coming back, and there's solid bats in their lineup, Adrian Beltre still has something in the tank. If not, there's Joey Gallo right behind him, who, I think is just waiting for Adrian Beltre to, step out of the way. Their middle infielders are pretty solid. There's pitching staff solid. As I said before, with Darvish coming back, I think the Rangers still put up a good fight for second place. Third place, though, is the Angels. Like you said, the Angels, they have some players, but I think they only have a couple of guys that are keeping his team together, but they don't have enough support from a lot of the other backups. So I'm going to put the Angels at third. Fourth place is the Mariners. The Mariners, like the Angels, have some pieces. They have Nelly Cruz, Felix Hernandez, Robbie Cano. I'm sure a couple others, but again, they don't have all the pieces. I still don't think they're still lacking some offense, a little bit of pitching, but it's not enough to have them move up in this division quite yet. And then of course the Oakland Athletics, which I think the biggest downfall for the Athletics was when they got rid of Yoenis Cespedes and that John Lester deal. That was a huge mistake. Ever since then, the Athletics just stunk. So, they had good chemistry, but I think they dug themselves into a huge hole, and I think that they're not going to get out of it this year, unfortunately. And now, moving on to the National League now. So, the National League East first. The top two are going to be a tight race. The Nationals and the Mets, to me, are pretty identical, pretty close in how they are. They both have great pitching. They both have good offense, but I still like the Nationals' offense a little bit better than the Mets. The Mets got back Cespedes. That was a big deal for them. I think he made a huge difference for them in the late run for the postseason. But I think, the Nationals, most of their pitchers are healthier this year. Bryce Harper had a great year last year, and they still have a couple other solid pieces in that lineup as well. Anthony Rendon should be back. And then, but the Mets are going to be solid again this year too with pitching. Their offense is decent, but not the best. But I think the young pitching is what's been making a difference for the Mets last year and for this year as well. And I think that's going to cause them to get back to the postseason as well. But we'll get to that a little bit later. The Marlins, I actually see placing third. They're still a young team, still developing, but I think they're getting better. But, they still were missing a few pieces. But they're definitely going to be a better team this year. I think I see them placing third and maybe an 83, 84 win season. The Phillies, actually, I have predicting fourth place. I know most people say the Phillies are getting old, which I agree, but they have a couple young guys in that lineup, and I think a bat that's going to make them look more better than fifth is Miguel Franco, I think his name is. I can't remember pronounce his first name, but I think he's going to help the Phillies at least get out of the basement, take that first step, maybe be like a 74 win team. But the Braves, I'm not too certain about the Braves this year. I think the Braves are the ones in this division that's in more of a rebuilding process than more of the Phillies. They have Julio Teheran, I'm sure a couple other youngsters, but I see the Braves finishing last this year in the National League East. Moving on to the National League Central. Um, well, last year, the Cubs were known as the team that arrived the year earlier. I knew the Cubs were going to be a better team last year. I didn't think they were going to be that good. But, all they've done is gain. And I think the Cubs are going to be a 100-win team this year. So I'm picking the Cubs to win the National League Central. And I'm not just doing that because I'm a fan of the Pirates. But I've heard a lot of scouts say, that the Cardinals are probably going to have a little bit of a down year this year. And not as good, which, I think the problem is, some of these players are starting to get up there in age. Ones have been holding on to them well. Adam Wainwright, Yadier Molina. They've won without them, but I don't know. I feel like there's something missing to the Cardinals that they're going to finish lower than the Pirates. So the Pirates, I'll talk about them a little more shortly. Then the Brewers, I feel like that they gave up a couple decent pieces in Gene Segura. Who else? Chris Davis. They lost Gallardo. And I think they're, besides Ryan Braun, which I hate Braun, but I think, the Brewers are pretty much, starting a rebuilding process. Not as bad, though, as the Reds, which I'm sorry, the Reds are kind of, logo's kind of blurred out. But the Reds, I think, are going to probably be the worst team this year in the whole league. You have Joey Votto, but everybody else is on that team's just getting old, and there's no one else really left on that team. Moving on, and the final division is the National League West, which is will be a pretty interesting division also this year. The Giants, last year they had a little bit of a down year, but Hunter Pence was injured, and a couple of their other pitchers had a little bit of an off year, but I think the Giants are going to rebound this year. I'm not just saying it because it's an even year and they've won the last few even years World Series, but I think they did a good job this offseason picking up a few replacements, and it should look good. The Diamondbacks, though, I actually have a good feeling about the Diamondbacks. I think they're going to have a really good year. I think they have an 88-win season for the Diamondbacks. That's my prediction for the Diamondbacks, about 88 wins. And it's because, the Diamondbacks have always been just those couple players away from being a good team. And I think this year they're not going to be as good as the Giants, but I think, with Zach Greinke joining the Diamondbacks, they got Shelby Miller, and even the bat of Gene Segura, just those few names on top of the other people in that line. Paul Goldschmidt, who else? David Peralta. I've got a couple other names in that lineup that I actually like. I think that the Diamondbacks will play second this year over the Dodgers. Despite having Clayton Kershaw, the Dodgers look like a team that's starting to slow down a little bit. You have all these older guys in that outfield right there, and it's just all a mess out there, in my opinion. Like Carl Crawford has been a mess. Andre Ethier has been injury plagued. Yasiel Puig has not really been the player everybody thought he would be. And the infield, is okay. Corey Seager's gonna have his first full year in the big leagues probably. He has Monty Grandal behind the plate, not too bad an acquisition. But the pitching, besides Clayton Kershaw, they have a couple decent arms in that pitching staff. But I think the Dodgers are starting to slip back a little bit, in my opinion. And then the Padres, they have some decent pieces, but they're still not that great of a team. And I still think blame it on Petco Park. Petco Park is just not a friendly baseball field at all. And then the Rockies, of course, great hitting, Nolan Arenado, Carlos Gonzalez, a couple good hitters on that team, but they just have no pitching at all whatsoever. So again, another last place finish for the Rockies. Now, as far as the Pirates, though, go, my team, I want to talk about them a little bit. I predict the Pirates winning 86 wins this year. I originally was going to go with 83, but then I upped it a little bit because, I think what worries me a lot is that the Pirates didn't really have as good of an offseason as I was hoping. They lost A.J. Burnett, Aramis Ramirez, both to the retirement. Joe Blanton's not coming back. What else? They traded Neil Walker for Jonathan Neese, which... okay deal, not completely satisfied. I felt that Neil Walker should have been a Pirate his whole career. Who else? Pedro Alvarez, I was expecting because, I love Alvarez's bat, but his defense just atrocious, and I was keeping him out of the lineup. So, we had some holes to fill this offseason, and I don't think we filled them all as well. I mean, you look at we still have Marte in left, Kutch in center, Polanco in right. It looks like Matt Joyce is probably going to be our fourth outfielder, which outfield I think going to be decent. Even Michael Morse here and there. But the infield, the infield is definitely a little bit of a problem for this team. If they want to contend, especially since how good the Cubs are going to be this year. And I think that some pieces aren't quite there yet. This have potential, but I'm not completely confident in them. But I have hope at least. Third base is probably going to be Jung Ho Gung until will be Jung Ho Gung, but he's out till like mid-April, late April, maybe early May. We could pick up David Freese at least, but Freese was been a little bit injured and didn't have as good years with the Angels, but I still have good faith in Freese. I think he'll probably take over more of first base once he gets back, which there's like a ton of people who we have that can play first base. Jordy Mercer is probably going to be our everyday shortstop. Sean Rodriguez being his backup. Josh Harrison's probably most likely take it over at second base full time, and at first base, they signed John Jaso, which I don't really like that deal. The guy bats like 185 this spring, but he has almost a 400 on base percentage. I mean, yeah, it's good, but that position was meant to fill with someone who has good power. I don't think John Jaso is the answer. Jason Rogers is definitely not going to be the answer. I don't think Jason Rogers is really going to even make the team. I think I can see him being designated for a sign like that because we have too many bats, and I don't think Jason Rogers is much needed. So that was a pretty worthless trade. Michael Morse, though, I like Morse, and then like I said before, David Freese is probably going to see more time over at first base once Jung Ho Gung comes back. And the starting pitching also, the bullpen, I think we'll be okay with the bullpen, but the starting pitching worries me a little bit. We have Garrett Cole, love Cole. He's probably going to have, I'm hoping he gets 20 wins this year. Who else? Liriano, who can be a little inconsistent, but I think he'll be okay. Jonathan Neese, I think he's okay. I think he'd be like a 500 winning pitcher. Like 10-10 or 11-11 or something like that. But then after that, it's up in the air. That Juan Nicasio, I think he's had a great spring. I think he deserves a spot in that rotation. And then probably Ryan Vogelsong. Vogelsong has had the experience. I think he's more deserving of that starting rotation spot than Jeff Locke. I have never really thought Jeff Locke was going to be that good of a player. I thought he had one lucky half, and after that, he just sucks. The Pirates need to stop trying to keep putting faith in Jeff Locke, because I think Jeff Locke is not really that great of a pitcher, and I'm sorry to say that. So I think what's going to help the power bats to also help with the power. Andrew McCutchen, he had 31 homers one year. He's hit like 20 to 25 the past few years. I like to see him maybe get a little up more towards 30 for homers. He's going to be moving up the batting second this year, probably with Jung Ho Gung or David Freese batting third, and then Starling Marte probably being our cleanup hitter. Marte, I like to see also hit about 25 homers. He almost got to 20 last year. Let's see him hit 25 homers, driving about 90. Gung, about the same numbers. Kutch, those guys, 25, 90 homers. Not 90 homers, that'd be a miracle, but 25 home runs, 90 RBIs. Gregory Polanco, he's probably, I'd see him have a breakout year, maybe hit 270, 15 homers, 70 RBIs, take him the steps. I think those guys, Josh Harrison, he's could have a bounce back year. The Pirates can be good, but I still worry about the other teams' divisions, especially with the wild card, because it's going to be a long shot for them to win the division this year, honestly, because of how good the Cubs are going to be. But that's all I'm going to say about the Pirates. Moving on to the awards, actually, and for MVP, I'm actually going to pick last year's Rookies of the Year, Carlos Correa. I think Mike Trout, MVP caliber player, but I think Carlos Correa is that one guy for the Astros who's going to help them get on top I think it's going to be more recognized. I think he's probably going to have a good year for a shortstop. He put up great numbers already last year, but he only played like 110 games. I think he's going to get like a good 150, 160 games in. Maybe put up more numbers, maybe break the 30 homer mark, have a good average. I think Carlos Correa is going to take home the American League MVP this year. And as well as also Chris Bryant. He's probably going to be a big part of the Cubs lineup this year as usual. Maybe break. I'm going to have a strong. This is going to be a little bit over the top expectations for a guy who didn't start right away and kind of struggled a little bit during the summer last year, but he still put up a great year, hitting like 275 with 26 homers and 9 RBIs. I'm going to say Chris Bryant's going to be one of like a couple big power bats for the Cubs, as Bryant I think can hit like 45, hit like maybe like 280. I'll go 280 for Bryant. 45 homers and 120 RBIs. That's a good number, I think, for a young third baseman who I think is going to put up really good numbers this year. In his sophomore year, that is. And as far as Cy Young Award goes, I'm going to have a repeat with Dallas Keuchel. I don't think there's going to be any other starting pitcher in the American League right now who could be better than Dallas Keuchel at all. He had a breakout year last year. I think he's going to do the same thing this year, lead the Astros into the playoffs. And then Matt Harvey, of course, he had he didn't play all of last year. He got a decent amount of time to be comeback player of the year, I believe. But I want to say be him seeing a Cy Young even over Clayton Kershaw. I think Kershaw. I think Kershaw's not going to quite get all the run support he's going to get because, like I said, that Dodgers lineup has potential, but I think it's starting to fall apart though. So that's why I'm picking Harvey over Kershaw for Cy Young. And as far as rookies of the year, for the American League, I'm going with Byron Buxton of the Twins. He's the only big name that really stands out to me when I think of the American League for rookies, and I think he's going to help that Twins offense become younger and show that they're going to be more of a threat. And then Corey Seager of the Dodgers. These are the only two big names that I'm really excited to see play this year as far as I've heard. So I'm choosing these two for the American League National League Rookies of the Year. And then breakout players of the year. These are players who played last year. This could be they've had decent years or something like that, and they're just about to break out. Well, these are actually two other rookies from last year. One of them, Miguel Sano from the Twins, had a decent first year, but I think he's one player that people are expecting, break into 35 homer guy. He's also another guy I think is going to help the Twins be more of a threat as well, besides Byron Buxton. And then another guy who's going to impact the Cubs who had a decent half year when he played in the big leagues last year, hit about 16 homers. Well, not going to be much of an average guy, but I see Kyle Schwarber putting up big numbers as well. I think he can hit about 35, 40 homers this year. Eventually maybe be a 50 homer guy because this guy has monster power. Not going to be much of an average hitter. He's probably going to, he came up as a catcher, but I can see him probably spending more time in the outfield this year probably. Well, we have Jorge Soler. I believe Soler is still with the Cubs. I'm not sure if he is cool, and Dexter Fowler and Jason Hayward also in the lineup. So I think Schwarber probably will still be going back and forth between catcher and outfield. Probably just to still keep his bat in the lineup, still starting the outfield here and there. So those are my breakout stars of the year. And as far as comeback players of the year, actually, two former World Series opponents, pretty much. Yu Darvish, Tommy John surgery, gonna be coming back. He's probably gonna put up maybe it's the first month, but he's probably gonna put up great numbers when he comes back, make a good impact, and help the Rangers get back to the postseason, hopefully as a wild card team. And then Hunter Pence, last year he was injured and he only hit 275, 9 homers and 40 RBIs the time he was around. But he's not just his numbers, but he's displays like great leadership. You know, he had all this energy for the Giants whenever the Giants won their last World Series. I think part of the Giants' struggles could have been they were missing him. So I'm actually going to pick Hunter Pence to be the comeback player of the year for the National League. And then last of the awards, as far as managers of the year, I don't know two people who are going to lead a better ball club than Joe Madden of the Cubs and A.J. Hinch of the Astros. And then we'll get to the playoffs now, where the American League wildcard game is going to be the Rangers and Red Sox. Rangers having the home game, which I unfortunately see David Ortiz's career coming to an end in Arlington. Rangers will take the wild card game, and then the National League wild card game. You know, I'd like to see the Pirates in it. I still think the Mets and the Diamondbacks are going to be just a little bit better. I'm feeling, but you know, the Diamondbacks are going to put up a good fight. But I think, you know, the Mets will have Matt Harvey against Zach Greinke, but that's my prediction possibly for this game. But I see the Mets, you know, with the experience already they have, still pulling through though and getting the victory and moving on to the divisional series. And then for the American League divisional series, it will be the Astros against the Rangers, and then the Royals versus the Blue Jays. And I'm actually going to pick the two teams that face each other in the American League Division Series last year, the Astros and the Royals. We'll move on to the American League Championship Series. For the National League Division Series, there'll be the Cubs and the Mets facing off, rematch from the American National League Championship Series last year, and then the Nationals and the Giants, who I think have had their battles in the postseason in the past. But Cubs, I think, are going to be better and stronger this year in the playoffs. They'll have the experience. They'll be ready to take on the Mets again. Cubs be the better team. I picked the Cubs for that series. And then the Giants, you know, have great postseason experience as well. I'm going to pick them, despite the strong pitching and the better offense they'll probably have this year. I'm picking the Giants over the Nationals. So for both the championship series, for the American League, we will have a rematch from last year in the division series between the Astros and the Royals, and then the Cubs taking on the Giants in the National League Championship Series. Now, as far as the Royals and the Astros, I mean, the Royals are still going to be a great team this year. Don't get me wrong. You know, they're a great young team, great defensively. And they didn't really lose much at all. They're pretty much right where they were. But I think, though, the Astros are going to show up this year. As I say, the better team, young team. I'm picking the Astros to win the American League pennant. And as far as the Cubs and the Giants, even though it's an even year, I think the Cubs are going to be the team to beat in the whole league this year. I think that they'll have the upper hand. They did nothing but improve. I mean, so did the Giants, but the Cubs did nothing but improve this offseason. I can't see that anybody really stopping the Cubs this year at all, which is why for the World Series, I have the Cubs against the Astros. And, you know, two young teams going at it, but at the end result, I think the curse will finally be broken. And for the first time since 1908, my pick to win the World Series this year is the Chicago Cubs. With Anthony Rizzo, I'm predicting being the World Series MVP. Another guy who's probably going to be like, you know, probably the Cubs cleanup hitter maybe this year, being like, you know, a 30-homer guy, 100 RBIs, as he was last year. So, my pick to win the World Series, Chicago Cubs. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. As usual, subscribe to my channel, my pro channel, my friend Dan's channel, and let me know what you think for your MLB predictions as well. You have any arguments against something I said? Go ahead. I want to hear what you guys want to say. So that's it, and I look forward to, you know, the MLB home open, the Pirates home opener on Sunday, and beginning baseball season. Should be a great year. See you guys.